In 2018, the Flood Bugatti came on the market on Facebook Marketplace for $300,000, and it stopped me in my tracks and kind of, for the first time in my life, brought up this idea that maybe I could buy a Bugatti. I've loved the cars since they were announced about 20 years ago. At the time I was in high school, and when they were eventually brought onto the market a couple years afterward, I just thought it was one of those perfect pie-in-the-sky dream cars, but I never really thought that the trajectory of my life and my career would ever result in a true opportunity to buy one. But seeing one that had been driven on purpose into the Galveston Bay seemed like it might be just that chance. But at $300 was just too much money. We've now seen Houston Crosta rebuild the car into a perfectly functional and useful car, but he spent way more than the car was worth, and I really knew that's what would happen. And I think I offered him 150 grand and was talking to Premier Financial Services about how to finance that at the time. I didn't really have like project car experimentation money, and the YouTube channel was still very young, but the idea stuck that maybe out there somewhere there is a Bugatti that's just bad enough that I could one day own it. And of course today they're perfect in that try to look like you won the lottery 10 or 20 years ago mantra that I use often, and it's just so that you can avoid depreciation, my greatest allergy, as you own the cars that you grew up loving. But about a year after that, in 2019, I'd finally finished with the Verde Draco repaint on my LP640, and I had my real dream car, my manual LP640, in one of my favorite colors, and finally without a lien attached to it. And this was really the profit from all the cars that came before it in what I call the free Lamborghini. And after that, and buying my dream garage with the house that came with it, I had this very existential crisis, and I realized that I am at my best in my career and in what I do for work when I'm chasing some ridiculous car goal. And so I knew that I needed to find something else, and the channel was growing a bit. I'd been making YouTube content every day for about 2 years, still doing most of the editing myself, and I was just trying to figure out, well, what do I do to stay motivated? And so I actually told a friend, I am going to find a way to buy a Bugatti. Now, this was not that I'm going to do this, do that, and then one day with these predictable steps have enough money to buy one. It was just, I need this ridiculous idea to chase that hopefully one day things will work out well enough and I'll be able to do that and then pick out the next car goal. But VINwiki was certainly growing up, and that's a great moment to talk about today's sponsor, Glossop University. Whatever your business goals, if you're in the automotive world, Glossop University can help you to level up. They specialize in the detailing, PPF, vehicle wrap, ceramic coating, and paint correction space, but whatever it is that you're doing, they can help you from where you're at to where you want to go. And they do that in a variety of ways, both online and in person, but their in-person boot camps are one of the greatest things that they do to equip young entrepreneurs and help them turn their business into everything they dreamt it could be. And if you want to come out for their August in-person session in Las Vegas, I will be there. So not only will you get to hear from Rich and his team about what they know and what they've learned after decades in the industry, but I'll be there to talk about what I was learning really in this specific time window about how to make social media marketing work for your brand. Clearly, the VINwiki YouTube channel has been the ultimate growth tool for the VINwiki app and so many other things in my life, but that can apply to your business no matter what it is that you're trying to do. And right now, they're offering $1,000 off of the normal $49.95 pricing for their boot camp, but it is super limited just based on the space and the facilities that they've got and the time they want to invest in taking your business to the next level. So check it out now at the link in the description below, and they'll help you grow into whatever you dream to be. But my dream, certainly starting in 2019, was to own a Bugatti. And the closest I've come so far was actually 2 years later. And unfortunately, it was just a little bit early for where I needed to be to make it happen. But in that window of time, I had started to see a few cars pop on the market, a little less money than expected and a little rougher than expected. Tyga's car, for instance, was going to be repossessed fairly soon. And I talked to his bank and was trying to make some offers, and I just couldn't quite get there. It has since sold. I've kept track, and the guy spent $250,000 reconditioning the car to perfect. But in 2021, I was faced with the opportunity to buy my dream spec Bugatti, a bare carbon over orange super sport, one of 7 US cars, ultra special and ultra expensive. It was going to require that I sell pretty much everything except the Verde Draco LP640, which I was totally fine with. But in the process of executing on that, that's when we really started to see the stock market turn in 2021. The seller, she was on the fence about letting it go. She'd agreed and then she kind of unagreed, and ultimately I wasn't able to get there in terms of the retail money that I needed to net out of my cars to make that happen. Now, I have continued to stay in touch with her, and I don't know exactly when, how, or if that'll happen, but still today, almost every day, I'm on Auto Tempest looking for what Bugattis pop up and trying to find one that really fits the roughness that I need to make a deal work. Over the past few months, I have liquidated a lot of cars. I sold the blue LP640 to Ryan Friedman Motor Cars. I sold the Ferrari GTC4 Lusso and the six-wheeled Range Rover and the Cannonball Rolls Royce through Sotheby's Motorsport late last year. So I'm in the best position I've ever been to make a move on a car. If it does work out, I'll have to sell something else just to make some room in the garage, but I'm ready to try, and I think the timing is right. And earlier this year, I also got pretty close on a 2012 Veyron Grand Sport. And I love this car. I think it's just an amazing story, more so than its current condition. It is quite rough. But it's a red over red car that they used for the Frankfurt Motor Show. It was then sold to Birdman and then given to Justin Bieber and then Floyd Mayweather and then sold through one of the Whittington brothers' nephews to Little Uzi Vert. And it's been for sale on and off for the last couple of years in a variety of different contexts, at a wide variety of pricing. But there's so many of these Grand Sports for sale that it does feel like that might be a better value relative to the early 16.4 coupes. And so I made some offers on it. Really, the seller wasn't ready to take the huge haircut that they're going to have to experience if they decide to actually cut the car loose. I'm really at a point now where I have this FOMO issue, and that is, it happens a lot of times when you start to see some upward momentum in the value of these cars, and you realize that if you don't get one now, you may miss out in the future. I had that conversation a lot last year with Doug Tabbitt about Lamborghini Diablos. He really wanted one, but he couldn't find the right spec, and he just had to decide, well, I'm going to buy what's available, knowing that I'll just kind of ride my way up. Now, I don't really know that I'm going to have the in and out liquidity in terms of the car that I'm going to buy, so I want to find the right one, but I am ready to find the right one now. I am continuing to chase those two cars. I'm going to make some more calls to the seller, or hopefully the seller, at least the owner of the Bear Carbon Super Sport, and continue to poke at the owner of the Grand Sport. Those are two great options, but even still, they're on the higher end of the price spectrum where they want to be, and I don't know that I could quite make that work. There are 4 other cars that I am really interested in today, but I also want to ask of the audience and anybody that's in kind of our VINwiki community, if you know of any high mileage, bad Carfax accident, bad title, anything like that, Bugattis, I am interested, and I think, at least, that I am ready to realize that dream. And so feel free to send them to me however you can get in touch with me. I'm always happy to hear it, or put them in the comments here, but let me know if you know of anything. But one car that I'm targeting that really came onto my radar over the last few weeks is the Top Gear press car Veyron. Now, this is a Euro spec car, built in late 05, early 2006, but I love it. It's black and gray over dark red, kind of a matching color combination to my Spiker, and I know that at one point the car was sold by Bugatti, so it wasn't originally retained by the factory for ownership, even though it was featured in all these amazing Top Gear segments and Tom Cruise's red carpet appearance and all that, but they sold it to a plastic surgeon in Moscow who doesn't seem to have it. I've gotten in touch with a few people that surround him, and they say he did have it, but he no longer does. It may be back at the factory in Walsheim, so I'm not sure, but I think that would be one of the ultimate Veyrons to own, primarily because it probably is the most famous Bugatti that has ever been built. It was the one featured in most of the press that made the car so significant to people my age in particular, and I think that in addition to the cars that we know are going to go up in value over time, I believe that being featured on or surrounding the Top Gear universe is one of the greatest accolades or stories that you could add to the history of one of these cars. So I'd love to find a way to buy that one. It is too young to come into the US, so it would have to be either temporarily registered in Europe, come in a year at a time, or registered in Canada, then brought in periodically and then taken back across the border until it turns 25 years old and can come in unencumbered. So I'd love to find a way to make that car work. Another one is another Grand Sport. Now this is a car, it's mostly black, but originally it was red and black. It was another press car. It's a teens miles car, kind of comparable in condition to the red over red car that I've looked at. They tried to sell it at Bonhams unsuccessfully. It's been listed with every car dealer in the Southeast and in Florida for a little while, and nobody's quite gotten there. I have spoken indirectly to the owner, and I, made some offers that haven't been received well. But at the end of the day, I think that one could fit what I am looking for. The next one is one that I call the penis Bugatti, and it is beige and gold over dark tan, which I think is a nice, elegant color combination. But at one point, there was a very viral video of a vandal spray painting a giant red penis on the hood of this car. Now, it's been taken off. It was probably on top of some PPF. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I mean, who wouldn't mind going to a car show and saying, is that the penis Bugatti? And so I've always liked it. I do like the color combination. There's an identical car in Europe, and I just, we'll see. But the problem with that car is in its current ownership, it's always been for sale and it's always been grossly overpriced. At the real money I think the car's worth, it would fit exactly what I'm looking for. The other one I'm working on is the Ponzi scheme Bugatti. Now, there's one that's been for sale for a long time, currently owned by some of our friends at Chicago Motor Cars. It is a blue and black car, a very traditional color combination, and the interior has been redone. I think it was originally cream, but now it is a bright Bugatti blue, and it's a very, very striking car. It does have some modifications, some HRE wheels, the upgraded headlights, but again, that's kind of a common thing to do to these cars to avoid the very expensive tires. And that's another car that if we could get to the right number, I think it would fit exactly what I'm looking for. So right now there's 6, maybe 7 cars that I really like that fit what I'm looking to do. And the goal over the next month or so, or however long it takes, is to continue making offers, continue to survey the market, find new leads, and I've got to get a Bugatti bought soon, because I do worry that one day I'm going to wake up, search on Auto Tempest, and all the prices are just going to go stratospheric. There's less than 1,000 W16 cars made by the brand. I think they are always going to be legendary. I think they're some of the most significant cars of the last 25 years, and I cannot wait to see where they go. But I hope I get to see it from behind the steering wheel in one that I own, even if there is a gigantic loan attached to it. So once again, I want to thank our sponsor for this video, Glossop University. Come out to their boot camp in Vegas late August with me, and let's learn from Rich and his team about how to grow an automotive brand, and I'll try to teach you what I've learned of how to grow it using social media and everything that we've learned on YouTube. And you'll just get to hang out with me for a few days and hopefully not die of a heat stroke in hot Las Vegas. Thank you so much to them for sponsoring VINwiki this year, and thank you for watching. Help me find my Bugatti.